Hey guys, this is Big Mike back for another Moo Legend episode. In this episode, I just wanted to do a dozen or so tips, things that I figured out in the game that will hopefully help you guys out. As always, guys, follow, thumbs up, leave a comment in the down low. Be sure to help feed Big Mike. Enjoy the video. Okay guys, for number one, the thing that I think is a lot of people don't realize is you want to try out all the different classes in the tutorial. As you're walking through the tutorial, you'll have an opportunity to pick each class. So the thing I would suggest is try out each class. Now the interesting thing is that lets you try it out. You kind of walk through the tutorial at level 65. So don't get too attached because it'll take you a little while to grind up to level 65 on each of those classes. But that way you can kind of see what end game will feel like if you play each class. Number two is, what is Zen and the magic gems? If you guys hit the I button, you'll see the Zen is on the bottom right hand corner, magic gems, and you also have guild contribution points. What each of these are just the basic currencies in the game. Zen, you're gonna come by a ton of Zen. Every time you kill something, just about anywhere in the world, you're gonna end up with some Zen. And there's ways to get a whole lot more Zen, and we'll talk about that later. And then magic gems. Magic gems are typically dropped a lot of times whenever you're in rifts and areas like that. So Zen is used for just your basic purchasing currency. Magic gems, when you're doing some purchases, when you go to trade in and you try to get special items, gems are often part of the currency. So you might see something that costs, 8,000 Zen and 100 magic gems. So you're going to kind of see that whenever you're doing upgrades and when you're doing certain crafting things, that magic gems are actually spent for that as well. Okay, so number three, directions and quests. Guys, a lot of times, it took me a little bit to figure this out, but if you look at this top right hand corner, immediately you'll see a little yellow circle around this and you'll see the arrows. That's something real simple. As you're walking around in the cities, you'll actually see some of the little arrows and things. You want to follow those arrows. You want to follow those little circles. They are basically telling you where to go. So if you see an arrow on the ground, it's usually a blue arrow, or if you see a yellow circle or those kind of things, that's kind of telling you you have an active quest and that's where you need to go. So pay attention to those things. Okay, number four is going to be where you actually are going into rifts. Rifts look like this. They're kind of a bluish inner dungeon type thing. It says the rift. So early in game, it's just going to have these basic ones. But when you go into them, it's going to give you some basic information about the dungeon and what, the monster HP is at 100%. If you're in a group, that's going to go up. The attack levels are going to go up. And it kind of tells you different stages. And you can kind of look at all this information before you go in. Each stage has more information. So when you go into the rift, you can do an auto party and join a party with up to 5 other players, or you can just enter into the rift. Once you go into the rift, this is going to kind of be your basic, dungeon type scenario. Monsters can be a little bit tougher. They're not absolutely horrible, but they're going to be a little tougher than your average other areas. One thing you want to be sure of is when you're doing a rift, you really want to make sure you end up closing out all the areas. So once you defeat certain areas, you want to make sure that you go and you look at your map and see, are there other areas I need to complete? So you definitely want to check out rifts. If you're going through the map, you hit map, you kind of see where you've gone to. I just beat a boss here. If you leave the area too quickly before going out and going on down this area over here, you can actually miss out on something. So if you hit I and you teleport back to town, it basically tells you. If you teleport out, it says caution. If you move to town now, you cannot return to this dungeon. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to leave the dungeon until you go through all the levels and make sure when you're looking at the map that you've covered all the areas. If you've got a gray area that like this right here, you want to go discover that area. Make sure you didn't miss anything. So here's what it looks like when you fight a boss. Kind of let this guy attack me a little bit. Try to show you how he telegraphs his attack. See there, that red area? You want to basically, this is tip number 5. Oh, we just did a little circle too. So you want to stay out of the areas of where they're going to attack. There's another red area. So when they do that, you want to stay out of the attack area. there it is, and I stayed in it, and they actually hit me. So you definitely want to make sure you're cautious whenever they are doing their attack to try and get out of that red zone. Otherwise, it's really close to death for you, especially on lower level bosses. I mean, higher level bosses. So there you go, guys. That's tip number 5, is try to stay out of that telegraph area when the boss is attacking you. Okay, guys, now for number 6. A lot of times when you're running through the game, you'll feel like you're in a complete experience grind, and XP is one of the most important parts of the game. So what you want to do is you want to hit Z, and you'll go into this here. It's your soul box. It basically tells you how many soul points you have to spend as you're leveling up. A lot of people will put experience points in attack, defense, support, etc. There's all these different areas, but I'm going to tell you really quickly, probably the best spent points early on, and you can respec later, is to go to the miscellaneous tab and use your points for experience. Every 1 soul point goes up 0.4 experience. So every 25 you go up quite a bit. So we're going to dump all of our points into there. We get plus 7.2%, and we're going to hit apply. So that will help me level up quicker, and later on we can go back and respec and put all of our points in these other areas. Okay, so the next tip is number 7. This one is looked over a lot of times. A lot of people miss this one completely, but if you hit the function 10 key, F10, you will see all of the shortcut keys. It is basically the menu of all the items. So you can hit these keys individually, or you can hit the F10 and kind of see all the different menu items that you can go to. That's a tremendous amount of help early in the game, so that you don't, like, you're banging on the keyboard to see where you need to go for each different thing. Just hit F10 and then hover over each area. It'll tell you what you need to see, and it's got even an exclamation point here telling me I need to go in and look at my skills, or I need to look at my achievements. So again, F10, it's a huge help early in the game and probably later in the game too, so that you don't have to remember all the keystrokes to get into these individual areas like pet management, quest log, mission map, all those different things. So now number 8, the one thing you want to remember is early in the game, you don't end up with all the gear. So like when you first start out, you're kind of grinding through. You will gather some of these pieces of gear, but early on you don't have the ring, the necklace, and the earrings. So as soon as you can go to Goblinzzz City or any city and go to the gem cutter and you talk to them, you use shop, you can go ahead and buy a set of earrings, a necklace, and a ring really early. So you want to go ahead and grab those, just because, look here, it gives me plus 700 HP, plus 700 HP, and plus 700 HP. Plus, it also gives me some combat power on each one. So you want to go ahead and get those pretty quickly. They're kind of expensive really early in the game, but you will find that you'll collect a lot of Zen really fast. So you want to go ahead and get those as quick as possible, and it'll help you level up a lot faster. Okay guys, now number 9 is above the attack bar. Sometimes you'll see these little icons pop up, and it's essentially telling you you've got some things you need to go check out. Guide mission rewards, returning user rewards, achievement reward, and soul box, which means you have soul experience to spend. So let's just look at a couple of these. Guide, so this here will tell you different quests you can go run and the rewards you can get for those quests. The returning user, which is also another little icon down here, actually shows you some quests that you may have already completed. So this one I got a check mark. It says move to Goblinzzz City. So let's click on that. So I'm actually going to click on this and go ahead and claim the reward. And let's see what we get. Look at there. We got 5 million Zen chest. It says complete, so we'll hit close. Now let's look at I. And there's the 3 things. The Zen, 5 million Zen. We got 300,000 magic gems. And we got the returning user, returning welcome user items with the wings, resurrection stones, growth potions, and soul potions. Now guys, number 10 is crafting. Now early in the game, most people will say you don't want to do crafting. You want to kind of hold all your materials, all your inventory. You'll get several items that are for crafting later in the game. You really want to save all this stuff up until later in the game. So you can still come into town and you can talk to the craftsman Thatcher, and you can go ahead and craft some items. It'll show you a list of all the stuff you can craft. But quite honestly, the best thing I found is that if you just go to the the shop and you want to dismantle items that you're not going to use, if you hit these buttons here, it'll obviously pull in all the items. So we're just going to add common heroic items all at once. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on these guys and pull them back because I don't have those identified yet, and they also have a blue arrow on them. So that means I can use them. So let's pull these guys back. And all these other items, the X's mean you can't use them. I'm just going to hit dismantle item and let it dismantle all these items at one time. It says, are you sure? And I say, okay. And I get 7 rare ore and 57 normal ore. So that's pretty much what you want to do early in game. You can sell them for Zen if you want. But again, look at my Zen. I'm only a level 25, 26 here, and I've got over 2 million Zen, and I've got a 5 million Zen chest that I just popped. So don't spend all your money. Don't spend all your items on Zen. Go ahead and use them to get some of that questing items for crafting later in the game. Okay guys, the next one is number 11. If you just want to get rid of all the dialogue when you're talking to the NPCs, if you'll just hit the O button and then go over to chat. When you're looking at chat right here, if it says show NPC dialogue, if this is checked, which it is by default when you're playing the game, you're going to get all the dialogue every time you talk to every single character. You can hit the space bar or click really fast, or you can just uncheck this and hit apply, and then you will no longer see all that dialogue when you're talking to the NPCs. You'll still get the quest log, you'll still get the information for each quest, but you won't see it but you won't have to click through every single thing that they want to tell you. Okay guys, the next thing is number 12 is Goblinzzz. Yes, you heard it. Just like in Diablo, you have goblins in this game. Now, I've personally only come across 2 different types, gold and gem goblins. And the gold goblins obviously drop Zen. I think I got about a Zen from each of 2 different goblins. And then the other goblin I've run into is the gem powder goblin. He dropped actually some Zen plus a lot of gem powder. And so those are the 2 I've run into, but I will tell you there's 2 other types that I've heard of. That's the rainbow and the fairy. So that gives you a total of 4 different goblins you're going to run into. You're typically going to run into those in rifts. So you definitely want to, when you see those, they're usually going to have like different, like rainbow's going to have a rainbow type thing. The gem one had like a green aura around him, or bluish aura. Gold has like a real gold halo around him. So kill those guys really quickly and get the great loot from them. You definitely don't want to miss out on those because like I showed you, you can get a tremendous amount of Zen and other items out of those guys. All right guys, number 13. This is a bonus one. This is just a generic inventory overview. So if you hit the I button, you see you have 3 tabs. You have 32 slots in each of these tabs for a total of 96 slots in inventory by default. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is you've got this premium inventory here with a little W with a circle on it. Very early on, you're going to end up with a mount, a couple pets, and several other items. These are essentially equivalent to currency item or special items. So definitely go to your W tab and see the cool slot items you've got there. Now, in addition to that, once you go into a city, there's various inventory management areas. You're going to have one that's got a gold box above him. He's the guild storage manager. So if you join a guild, you're going to end up seeing that, and you're going to have access to a guild storage area. Then you're going to have a personal storage manager and an account storage manager. And each of those have their own amount of slots. I think like 24 to 32 slots each. But essentially the personal storage is just if I want to dump some stuff in here for this specific character I'm playing, I can put it in here, go run some more quests and come back. Then if you want to transfer things from one character to a secondary character type, you're going to use the account storage manager. And again, as you can see, you can use magic gems here to increase the number of slots you've got in each of these. But if I wanted to drop something in here for one of my other characters, like I just created a brand new blader, I may throw my growth potions in there so I can level that guy up quicker, log into that character, come over to the account storage, and it'll be in this area. So as I said, you've got various areas of storage. Just kind of make sure you check them all out, learn how they all work. Hopefully all this information has helped you guys out. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was very helpful for you. Let me know in the down low your feedback. As always, help feed Big Mike and enjoy the videos, guys. Thank you.